Good evening, listeners and viewers. Today's radio lecture is special because it's supposed to be the last radio lecture for the semester. And as it has been advertised, today is a revision week. It's a revision time, so we want you to get ready. I think we need to take their questions first.
Sure.
And then we will also try to, we have received messages from some students concerning some areas that they want us to go over. We will do that, but we would like to hear from you first so that we can address your concerns.
Yeah.
Okay.
Concerning the WhatsApp.
Okay, so WhatsApp, the phone lines 0503-923158. Facebook, Radio Windy Bay 98.3 FM. So you can send your text messages. You can phone in 0503-923158. If you have a question that you want us to discuss. All right. Dr. Hassan, whilst we are waiting for the calls to come in, one student wanted us to throw light on instructional media production techniques.
Okay. Instructional media
Production techniques, yeah.
Okay. So, with instructional media production technique, we base our discussion in class on three main techniques, and these were the imitative production technique, the adaptive production technique, and the
creative
invention. So these were the three main ones that we discussed in class. And the first one, which is the imitative, under this technique we discussed that the teacher or the instructor relies on instructional material or content that has been created already by somebody. So for some reasons, maybe you are going to teach the same group of people that the creator of the materials taught. For example, you are teaching SHS 1 in your school, and then the other teacher is teaching SHS 1 in a different school, maybe in a different town or wherever. So there is similarity between the two target groups. So that could be a reason, or one of the reasons for which the teacher would decide to imitate what a colleague has done already. So in class, somebody was using the word copycat. You are you are relying on what has been created by somebody, and you just lift it and use it as it is. So maybe it's the same subject, the same group that are being taught, or the groups are of they are homogeneous. They have some characteristics that are common in terms of maybe age, in terms of gender, in terms of the way they learn and all that. So the teacher is relying on what has been created by somebody and not himself. Yeah.
To add to that, you will not The imitative, another word is adopting. So you
Yes.
adopt what somebody has used in the past.
Yes.
Of course, you will not adopt something that is
So
not
this
good.
adopt is O, not
Yes,
the A.
Yes, it's adopt.
Yes.
To adopt.
Yes.
All right. So you will not adopt something that was not good.
Yes.
So it means another teacher has used it in the teaching and learning process, and it was
And the
successful,
results was okay.
good.
Sure.
And so you decided to adopt what, if it is a learning material, you decided to adopt it.
Yeah.
All right.
Then should I go ahead?
Yes,
with the
go
second one?
ahead with
Yes.
the
So the second one, which is the adaptive production technique. This one comes with ADA, and the first one is ADO. So that's the difference. So as the name goes, you are adapting what has been created or what has been used by another person. The difference here is that with the adaptive, which is the second one, the teacher who is using what has been created by somebody is modifying what has been created there. So with the first example that I gave, maybe you are teaching SHS 1 in Winneba, and then another teacher is teaching SHS 1 in my hometown, Swedru. Then the same subject is being taught, and all of them are SHS 1. So you pick maybe the videos or whatever you use in teaching osmosis in Winneba, in Swedru. But here, you are going to do some additions and subtractions. You are going to modify it. You are going to add certain things that you think they did not help the teacher get the expected results in the first instance. So instead of you adopting, taking it, copying and pasting it, you think when this teacher used it, he didn't get the expected results, so you are not going to use the same thing. You are going to modify that particular medium. So you add something to it, and then you take some things out. It is also possible that maybe the subject that you are teaching, the same science subject, let's say biology, my biology is not good. You are teaching osmosis, and then you are taking something that has been prepared by a teacher in Winneba to Swedru, but the teacher in Winneba was using it for SHS 2. Then you are going to use it for SHS 1. And then you think, because there's difference in the target group, in the learners, their characteristics are different. So you would like to take certain things that you think they were meant solely for the SHS 2. You take them out. And then some other things that you think, when I add these things, when I put in these things, it will make learning easier. It will make learning maximized for the SHS 1 in my area. Then it brings that essence of you adding those elements or new things to it to make it different from the first one. So that is how I can draw the difference between these two.
To add to what you have said, with the adaptation, there is an element of creativity.
Yeah.
So you are not taking the whole thing hook, line, and sinker. You make modification.
Sure.
In creativity class, we call it deletion and supplementation. You take something out, then you add something.
Yeah.
All right. So a classical is not. It's not because another teacher used it and the teacher was not successful. It's not always the case.
Sure.
But for instance, you have prepared a PowerPoint. All right. We all know PowerPoint. We have the slides, and you can add images.
Yes.
All right. So that is what basically another teacher has done. Then you want to add interactive buttons.
Sure.
All right. So that when you are on slide 2, for instance, you click a button, it takes
that
you
can
to
jump you
to slide 10.
Slide
and then whilst
choice.
you are in slide 10, you click a button, it brings you to either slide 2 or another slide.
Correct. Correct.
All right. So this is a classical example of the creativity that we are talking about, deletion and supplementation.
Yeah.
All right. So in this case, you have made modification. You have added something to an existing instructional
Content.
material or content.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So much as we encourage teachers to adopt what others have used before. All right. We also encourage teachers to try to modify.
Do some modification.
Yes, or because that taps on your creative powers.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, if you are done, I move on to the third one. So the third one is the creative invention. So just as the name goes, over here, the teacher or the instructor is coming out with something new and fresh and innovative, which never existed before. So the teacher, based on the subject that he's teaching, the topic, the learners, the target group and their characteristics, and then the resources that are available, he creates his own thing that has never existed before. For the instructional activities. So here, as compared to the adaptive one, you were mentioning the creativity element of that one. Here, the creativity element is more than, because you are doing everything all afresh. You are starting your own thing, and over there under the adaptive, you are just adding your little or your small creativity to what has been created already. So these are the three production techniques that we can have. And Doc, a student in all the classes that I went, the students were concerned about plagiarism and copyright issues as far as this topic is concerned. In almost all the classes that I went to, somebody will ask a question, says, so if you take something that belongs to somebody, something that's another person, maybe PowerPoint slides, that has been created already by somebody, are you not going against the copyright law? Do you have that right to copy something?
Well,
I don't know what you say, but
it depends.
Yeah.
It depends. If another teacher, let's say sometimes you can go online and then you are going to teach a topic. You can go online, you get a PowerPoint, okay? And then we talked about adopting. When you're adopting, it is important for you to acknowledge the source. You don't present it as if it is your own idea.
Yeah.
Okay, that is where the plagiarism will come in.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you are using a material prepared by somebody, just acknowledge
For academic
purposes. Okay, so you cite the source.
Yeah.
All right. Don't put your name there, Joseph Apiani, then you put it because it's not. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So once you cite the source, it's no problem. Then let's go back to the second. I think the adapting.
Yeah.
Okay, the deletion and the supplementation.
Yeah.
Somebody has prepared a material, so you take something out, and then you add.
Something.
It's just like you conducting research.
Yeah.
Sometimes we want to know the portion or the part that belongs to you.
Sure.
All right. So if it is a
Your
PowerPoint,
own,
for instance, the portion which is your own, all right, you can indicate. And then the portion that belongs to somebody too, you can also indicate, acknowledge the source.
Sure.
All right.
So even to add to that, the portion that is yours, that is your own creation. You can decide not to indicate anything. If you are stealing from yourself, even though it's against the plagiarism rules, when you are even citing yourself, you must do that. You must indicate that this was done by you in so and so. But I think if you are taking somebody's portion, a portion belongs to somebody. The aspect that belongs to another person, you have to acknowledge it. If you would not acknowledge your own side, I don't think it is an offense.
It's not offense.
Yes, but the portions that belong to other people or the content that belong to other people, there's the need for us to acknowledge them.
Yeah. And then this takes us back to the fair use that we discussed.
Yes.
All right. I think if it is a textbook, for instance, then there's the need for you to go by the fair use guidelines.
Sure.
All right. Because you can't photocopy the material,
quantity that you can copy,
and
out
then they
of
give
the
to 200 and or 500 students in your class.
Yeah.
All right. And I think you need to go by the fair use guidelines. Okay.
That's true.
All right. If you have a question, let us know. 0503-923158. This is EduTech 121 course, and the topic is revision. So we are trying to go over all that we have done for the semester. So if you just tune in, you can send us a text, or you can also reach us via Facebook, Radio Windy Bay, 98.3 FM. Okay. I also received a message from a student earlier on, and the student wanted us to explain the learning paradigms, starting with the definition. So the question is, what is learning? If you are asked, what is learning? How would you approach it? What is learning? And I told the student that it depends. Yeah. It depends on the definition. It depends on the camp that you belong to. Yeah. If you are a behaviorist, it depends on how you learn. Yes. If you are a constructivist, if you are a cognitivist, so the answer, it depends. But as a scholar, having learned all the different definitions, you need to try to coin your own definition, trying to incorporate the other definitions. Yeah. So let's start with the behaviorists, how they define learning. So according to the behaviorists, learning is a permanent change in behavior, and they normally add relative. Relatively permanent change in behavior as a result of experience. Yeah. So can you throw light on this definition?
Okay, thank you. So the behaviorists are of the view that for learning to take place, there is the need for the learner to show change in behavior, in their behavior, as a result of some changes that have been put into their environment. For example, there is the need for the learner to move from the way something, he or she does something, or how they do something, as a result of they maybe getting something through their senses, the sense of vision, the sense of hearing, feeling, and then smell, and there's another one. There's the vision, smelling,
taste.
Yes, taste. So these are areas through which something can be communicated with the human mind, or the mind of the human being. So if there is some kind of changes within the environment of the learner which is triggered into his mind, and as a result of that they change the way they do things. I think in simple terms, this is the way we can explain it. So they say that learning has taken place. So the person has gotten some experience. Maybe it could be caning, it could be shouting at them, it could be giving them something, it could be taking something out of them. All these are sending some kind of signal to them, for which they give their response to show that they have changed the way they do things. So that is in simple terms the way they define learning. If we are using those big terms, we say it is a stimulus response association. So the stimulus is the things that they feel within their environment, and as a result of that, they respond to that, and that response that they give is permanent. So the response is the way they do things. So they are changing the way they do things through the response. So they say it's the stimulus response connection. Yes. So that is how these behaviorists try to explain it, and they say that this change in behavior, this change in the changes in their environment, conditioning their environment, all of them should be visible. It should be observable and measurable as well. So that is how they try to.
All right. To add to what you just said, relatively permanent change. Okay. Before the relatively permanent change, let me talk about the change in behavior.
Yeah.
All right. So, as a teacher, you go to the classroom, you set objectives, all right, that you are going to achieve.
Yeah.
So, assuming you are going to teach your student how to recite the multiplication table 2 times 2.
Yeah.
All right. So, before that instructional period, your student didn't know how to recite 2 times 2, for instance, up to 24.
Yeah.
So, if at the end of the instructional period, your students are able to recite the 2 times 2 up to 24, which was your target or instructional objective, then we say there is a change in their behavior because hitherto they
couldn't have done that.
So now they are able to do something before the instructional experience, and that is what we call the change in behavior. And then as a result of the experience has to do with the encounter that they had with the instructor or with the teacher. And then the relatively permanent change, which suggests that the change in behavior is neither fixed nor transitory. Because when we learn, we tend to forget. And this is where the Thorndike's law of exercise or the law of disuse and use come into play. So human as we are, we tend to forget. Okay, so that is how the relatively permanent change relate to the theory of disuse, because it is not, because when you learn something, it will be there for some time. Especially, I think we learn about so you sense them. So we have we discussed in class, we discussed the 3 types of memory. The sensory register, you sense or you perceive the information. If you pay attention to the information, it goes to the next level, which is a short-term memory. And then whilst in the short-term memory, if you practice, if you rehearse, you practice, it goes to the long-term memory. And once in the long-term memory, I think it can be there for some time. But if you don't review the material or you don't practice for a long time, you will tend to lose it. Yes. All right. So that explains the relatively permanent change in behavior. So the change in behavior, it is not permanent and it is not transitory. It does, when you learn something, it stays. If you claim to have learned something. Okay. Now, what about the cognitivists? How do they define learning? the cognitivists.
So the cognitivists are also of the view that I think they came as a result of improvement upon the loopholes in the behaviorist theory, and they have a different view to learning. They think that learning takes place as a result of the learner or the individual receiving some information, and then that information is processed. It is organized or reorganized in such a way that they will store that information, and anytime there's the need for them to recall it or to retrieve it and use it for whatever purpose, they are able to do that. So they also believe that the learning can take place as the environment of the learner changes, as they sense some things within their environment. So as they sense it through maybe vision, hearing, smelling, whatever, then they repackage or they reorganize that information into the form that it will be easy for them to store in their memory, and then bring it out when the need be. So that is how they also define it or explain it. They let me add this. They usually talk about the black box or the human mind working as the computer. That the input unit is there, the processing unit is there, the storage unit is there. So you receive your content, and then you process it. Those who have more knowledge in information technology, how data is processed and stored. You see, those number bases kind of. So the system itself processes it. It packages it in such a way that the computer's mind or its brain can process it in the computer language form or in the programming language form, that it could be stored for future retrieval. So that is how they also try to explain it, using the computer as an example of the functioning of the human mind. So
all right, okay. Let me also say something a little. Okay. So they define the cognitivists define learning as a change in knowledge which is stored in memory. So if you claim to have learned something, then you should be able to store it in your memory and then retrieve it when you need it. So just as you rightly said, the cognitivists also believe that they also believe in the change in behavior. Because if you claim to have learned something, then you should be able to do something for us to see. But to the cognitivists, the change in behavior is as a result of the
processing
of on the part of the learner. So to them, the learner has a part to play. Whereas the behaviorists claim that, or they think that the learner is passive during the teaching and learning process. Everything is about the teacher. The teacher has to initiate for the learner to respond. But to the cognitivists, the learner has a role to play. And the learner is also active during the teaching and learning process. So to them, the change in behavior is as a result of the mental processes. Okay. So if a teacher should pose a question, the learner must process the information and come out with the right response. All right. So that is how they see learning. All right. Then let's talk about the last one, the constructivists.
Okay. So constructivists are of the view that the learner is not empty-headed. It's just as the behaviorists think. But the learner, as a human being, knows something already. So even though he is coming to school to learn, he is not coming with an empty mind. He has his own world of knowledge. He has his own understanding of the world in which he lives. So it is through that he sees the outside world. So the learner has an idea, has some previous knowledge, has some experience. He has okay, so he's coming to the place of instruction with some ideas, with some knowledge, and it is this knowledge or this idea that he sees the new thing that the teacher is giving to him, the instruction that is being given. He sees that through his own world of knowledge that they have. So whatever they are being told or whatever they are seeing within their environment, whatever they are sensing all those things based on their previous knowledge, what they have already. So they make that decision whether what they are seeing today is something that they should relearn. They should take out the beliefs and the perceptions and the previous knowledge they have already, whether they should take that one off and add more of the new things that they are getting, or they should add the new things to what they have already, or per their beliefs and the previous knowledge, they think the new knowledge is of no use, so they would not add it to their store of knowledge. So they are to say they know something already before they come to class, and in the course of doing this, they taking either they are accepting the new thing or not. You say they generate knowledge for themselves, they construct the knowledge for themselves, and not necessarily what the teacher is giving them. So you may give them the content or the knowledge or the ideas in class all the same, but they have their own perception about what you are saying. They have their own mentality or their mindset already, through which they are seeing the new content that they are receiving. So this is how the constructivists also try to explain learning. So they think that learning takes place when the learner has been guided by the instructor to make meaning of the outside world by themselves. So if there is a change in behavior, it is not because of what they are presently receiving or what they are presently sensing within their environment, but they already know something. Yeah.
If you just tune in, this is Educational Technology course, EduTech 121. We are doing a revision, so if you have a question, you can phone in, or you can also send us a message via Facebook, Radio Windy Bay 98.3 FM. And the number to call is 0503-923158. WhatsApp and SMS 0503-923158. Let me add something to the constructivist perspective.
Okay.
So to the constructivists, when you talk of learning, it has to do with the process of adjusting our mental models or patterns in order to accommodate our new experiences or to make way for our new experiences. And I think in class, I gave this an example that you have a child at home and you have a dog. So the child has been playing with the dog, your child is used to the dog. Then you go out with your child. The child sees a goat.
Another dog, okay.
No, a goat. a goat too has got 4 legs, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and then even we can
Some
have
similarity.
yes, and the color you can have
The same
either
color
brown
as
or
goat or
black
sure.
or yes. Then your child start calling the goat a dog.
Mm-hmm.
Then you tell your child that no. Why is it that your child is calling the goat a dog? It's because of his or her previous experiences.
Correct.
So the child is interpreting his world,
Yes.
okay, based upon his or her own.
He's interpreting the outside world, which is the goat,
Yes.
through his own world, which
Yes.
is the dog that is in
Yes,
the house.
and for that matter, his experiences, previous experiences.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you tell, let's say the parent should tell the child that no, this is not
A dog.
a dog, it's
but
a goat.
It's a goat.
Now the child must necessarily modify his mental structures.
Yes.
Okay, modify his mental structures to make way for the new experience.
Yeah.
And if the child fails to do that, the child will be in the what we call disequilibrium, because he will be in a conflict situation.
Yeah.
That if the child insists that no, this is
Still a dog.
the child will obviously be in the state of disequilibrium or a state of confusion. All right. So this is how the constructivists define learning.
So in this case, in this case, the parent would have to guide the child to come to that realization that there is that
new
difference
experience.
between
Yes.
that different. Okay.
All right. So to the constructivists, we learn through social negotiation or interaction.
Yeah.
So if you're a student and let's say you are part of a study group, maybe you might they have taught a concept or a topic, and you have your own understanding about the topic.
Yeah.
And in a group meeting or study group, somebody would tell you, no, the way your understanding of that concept or topic is not right.
Yeah.
In that case, you need to make adjustment to your mental structures or the models to make way for the new experience, which they call the learning. Okay. All right. Do we have to continue? Because the person wanted us to explain the definition of learning. I don't know whether.
Okay. I think with this, the similarities and the differences among these three have been made clear, so they should understand it by now. If you still don't understand, you can send us your message, or you can call in for us to.
It appears as if a message is coming.
A call is coming through.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Very well. Thank you.
Another student also wanted us to throw light on the ADI model.
Okay.
Instructional model. ADI model.
Very well.
Okay.
So the ADI model is an instructional design model that guide the teacher or the
instructional designer,
the instructor or the designer, or it could even be the expert whose main work is to design instruction for people. So it may not necessarily be a teacher, though they could be those special people who are instructional designers. Okay. Their work is just to
just to add to that, to design a training program or a manual for a group of workers or students or individuals.
Yeah.
All right. So instructional, the person may not necessarily be a teacher.
Sure.
But I think I told my student that the work that the instructional designer, does. All right, it's not different from what we teachers we do. We also follow, or we go through the same process or procedures, except that that of the instructional designer is very systematic.
Yeah.
All right. So that is what we are going to talk about.
The ADDI model is an abbreviation of which shows a model with as the acronym goes. The A stands for analysis or analyze. The D, the first D is design. Then the second D is development. Then the I is implement. Then we have the E, the last letter, which is evaluation. So all of them stand for something. So it's a model that is guiding us to design our instruction. So if that is what we want to do, we experts in educational technology, we are always interested in maximizing learning and improving performance. So if you want learning to be maximized, learning takes place with the learner, the student. So the instructor or the teacher or the designer is trying to do anything possible so that learning which takes place at the end of the student or the learner will be maximized or it will be facilitated. So because that is what we want to achieve, under the analyze stage or the analysis stage, that is the stage that we set goals. And then if we are setting goal at that stage, that is the stage that we decide what and what will be taught at what level. So we are setting goals which we usually see in the writing of the lesson plan. For example, you see the instructional objective is set. Maybe at the end of this lesson, the learner is able to do A, B, C, D. So this is the stage that we set goals. And we can set goals when we have analyzed our learners. Okay, because the learner is the one with whom learning takes place. So if you want to analyze him, or if you want to package something for him, if you want to design instruction for them, then you must be conscious of what they can receive or absorb or process. And all these, we can know that by knowing their characteristics, the learner's characteristics. So who are they? What is their age? Has age got something to do with what the human being can process in terms of learning? What experiences do they have? What experience are they bringing to class? So if we look at those three theories of learning that we looked at, you see that it is linked in such a way that the teacher, in trying to package something for the learner, you should be able to know the state in which the learners are. Whether you are going to use the behaviorist approach, cognitivist approach, or constructivist approach, there is a need for you, the teacher, to have enough knowledge on the learner. So you must know them, their characteristics, as I said. Has gender got something to do with the learning process or the content that they will absorb? Has age got something to do with that? So you must find out all these. If they have something to do with what you are going to package for them, then you consider it. So that is the learner analysis that we have to do. Then we also have the content analysis. Over here, we are talking about the content, the message, the information that needs to be passed on to the learner. That is if you are going by the behaviorist or the cognitivist approach. But if it's the constructivist approach, what is it that you want the learner to come to realization? Where do you want to take them to? Where do you want to facilitate them to get to in terms of knowledge? Okay, so that particular content, that particular point that you want the learners to get to, this is the point that you take a critical look at it, and then you package it. So how are you going to divide it? How are you going to sequence the content? How are you going to present it? Is it something that, for example, the sciences, which has some laws that needs to be followed? Is it something that maybe belongs to the art, that people just have to express the way they see things and the way they perceive things? So all of that content that you are going to teach them, you analyze it at this stage. You also have to, because you are going to package something for them and you are interested in the content, even the content, what level of difficulty or complexity are you going to operate at? Are you going to, if you are looking at the taxonomies of learning, for instance, around which point is the content that you are going to give to the learners going to revolve? Is it going to be something that is at the lowest stage, something that they just have to remember, recall, or whatever? So all these things are done at the content analysis stage. You break the content down, and then you repackage it. Then we also have the third analysis, which is the context. The context is the area in which teaching and learning takes place. That space, that environment, we term it the context analysis. So where is the instruction going to take place? Is it going to take place in the classroom, on the field, on a trip, or wherever? That space where that interaction between teacher and student, or instructor and learner, going to take place, you have to consider that one. You have to analyze it and make sure that the appropriate environment, the appropriate context is set for that particular instruction that you are thinking about. So this is what we look at under the analysis stage. Yeah.
Okay. Let me add one important, or make one important comment.
Okay.
At the analysis stage, when we are analyzing the learner, we need to think about their current performance and then the desired performance. Because you said,
characteristics.
You said we need to set goals.
Yes.
All right. So you think of your learners, where they are now and where you want them to be.
Yeah.
All right. So the current performance has to do with what they can do now, the entry behavior. The desired performance has to do with the learning outcome, what they should be able to do
at the end,
and at the end of either the training or the instructional period.
Yes.
So that is the desired performance, what they should be able to do, or you want them to be able to do.
Sure. So I use this simple example in class that the students, I use the students themselves as example, that they all come in as level 100 students. And that is their entry characteristics. At least everybody has C6 in all their subjects that they took at WASI or SSC, and then they come in with that qualification, that entry characteristics. And at the end of the 4 years, they are supposed to be graduating with bachelor of something. So that is where the instruction is taking them, or the university is taking them, looking at these characteristics that they come in with. So if somebody is coming in looking for admission to come and start a program, and the person has maybe E9 or F9 in English, maths, or any of the required subject, okay, and then they say, oh, I want admission, I have this grade, and they say, oh, as for this grade, so you have to write it again. And sometimes some people, when they are interacting with them outside, they think it is some punishment that you are giving the student. there is a reason for that. You are coming in with maybe F9 in mathematics, and then when there's the need for you to do some simple addition or subtraction, you find it difficult to do it. How would the university be able to build on that poor entry characteristics that you came in with in order to give you the degree at the end of the 4 years? Maybe your English is F9, and then you come to class, they give you an assignment, maybe write myself, or a teacher says come, and then you want to know the meaning of come. So they say go and do this and get this before you come in. So all these are part of the entry characteristics, where they are now, and then where you want to take them. You take them at the end of it. So all these ones also come in.
Okay, I think before we go to the next level or stage, somebody has a question. It says, how can you incorporate all the 3 types of learning in classroom in the process of teaching and learning?
Okay. All right. So the 3 approaches to learning, they are not distinct. They are not mutually exclusive when we are teaching in class. In other words, they are not such that when a teacher says, I'm going to teach this class, I'm obliged or I'm forced to use behaviorist approach alone, or cognitivist approach alone, or constructivist approach alone. In fact, studies by Cronje and other people who did studies in the paradigm revisited, paradigm regain, and all that, they have done extensive work on mixing these theories. Okay, so in some cases, about 2 or 3 of these approaches could be combined in one single lesson or in one instruction. So how do we do that? We can do that depending on what the teacher is going to teach. Some of the content will require that the teacher uses maybe the behaviorist approach, or the cognitivist approach, or the constructivist approach. It is possible you may have a lesson which is such that the learners must first recall some laws or some theories in order for them to do another activity, work with that one. So the recall aspect of those theories or those concepts, those laws, those principles, depending on that the content that you are going to teach, that aspect will be looked at from the cognitivist approach, where there's the need for them to recall something, bring something from their memory, and a law or a principle, then they apply it in maybe answering some questions and all that. So there is no fixed or fast rule that a teacher should just stick to one of these theories. There are even some other learning theories which we didn't add to these ones. But so I'm trying to say that depending on the content that the teacher is teaching,
and then
the level of the learner, the approaches could be blended. You can mix them in order to achieve what you want to achieve. Yeah.
Okay. So, for instance, if you are teaching in the primary school, and you remember we cited the example of teaching your student multiplication. Of course, you need to adopt the behaviorist approach, because that is the best or the most appropriate approach at that time. Now, you want to take your student on field trips. Here is in line with the constructivist approach, because you want your learners to encounter, nature,
and interact with the natural world,
natural world,
outside world.
Yes. or you're taking them to an industry where you observe how things are done. They will interact with the workers and ask questions. And like they said, we learn according to the constructivists, we learn through social negotiation and interaction. So it depends on the content, and it depends on the level that you are teaching. And it depends on the purpose of the lesson, or the goal that you have set.
So our texter, so if you ask, that is the answer that we give you.
Okay. So let's move on to the next phase of the AD model.
Okay. So the second stage is the design stage. So the design phase is where instructional designers will design, or they will sketch, they will put on paper what the instruction that they have in mind. So they put the ideas on paper, and it includes writing the instructional objectives.
Just to add to that quickly, so at the analysis phase, take it that the analysis phase is more or less discussion. So if you are an instructional designer and you are going to design a training program for a company or organization, at the analysis stage, you meet with management or the powers that be, and then you discuss what they want to achieve through the training. All right. So that is where you talk about the learners, you talk about the context, you talk about the content. So it's a more or less brainstorming session. Now at the design, the design stage, that you have to put ideas on paper. All right.
Yes. Thank you. I thank you for the example that you have used. The ADDI model is perfect. It's excellent for training program. Whilst the Assure model is excellent, or is good for classroom instruction. So in the classroom, it is appropriate, or it is best for us to resort to the Assure model. But when we are having training programs, I wanted to say this at the tail end of it, but once you brought in that example, I thought it wise to say it this time before we forget. So this is the stage. The design stage is the time that after your interactions and your discussions and all that, you put the ideas that you have gathered on paper, and then you design it, you draw it the way you want.
Like you are going to put up a building. You know, the architect
they will do their drawings.
Drawings, and then everything will be on paper.
So that is what happens at the design stage.
Okay. So then the next, so the development phase, we said at the analysis phase, you analyze, you discuss. At the design phase, you put ideas on paper. So if, for instance, at the design phase, you said that at the development stage is where you are going to
actual
create.
Work.
Creation. So we can call the development stage the creation stage, because that is the phase that you create things.
Exactly. So that is the design stage. You create it. You call things into being. So that is that.
Right. Then the implementation phase.
Okay, so at the implementation stage, we say what has been created, what has been called into being. You have a prototype of it. You can test it on a group of people to see how effective it is before you go and use it for the actual training program. So this is one key point that makes it suitable for training programs, because if it's not for training program and you are going to use it for classroom interaction activities, then which group are you going to test the prototype on before you come and use it? But for training program, it is taking place at a different place from the classroom. So this one does not make it more sensible for it to be used in the classroom as against the assure mode.
It doesn't mean we cannot use it in the classroom.
Sure. But it is not the most appropriate one to use for the classroom. So here, the instructor will have to employ all the teaching methods and strategies in order to achieve the instructional objectives.
Okay. So the implementation phase is where the instructional designer or the teacher will take the lesson to the doorstep of the learners.
Yeah.
So having analyzed, designed, and then developed. So if it's a PowerPoint that you developed at the development stage, at the implementation stage, we want to see that yes, you are using because you have, and you talk about pilot testing. So you try it with a group before the actual
use of
yes.
it. Yeah.
All right. Then let's talk about the final phase.
The final phase, which is not always the last phase, is the evaluation. It's evaluation because we want to. We say this is the evaluation stage. We want to ensure quality, and the quality that we want to ensure, we want to find out whether the design that we did, the package that we did, it was able to serve the purpose for which we created it or we designed it. So in so doing, if you look at the diagram that we use in class, you always see that the E, which is the evaluation, is at one point at the center, and then arrows are pointing it to the 4 other phases. So what it tells us that, or what it means is that we don't wait till the tail end of it in order to have our evaluation, even though some evaluation can be done at the tail end of it. So because we want to assure quality, when we are at the analysis stage, we try as much as possible to ensure quality at that stage by asking the right questions, having the right experts to advise us. So at the design stage too, we are ensuring quality at that stage, development, implementation. So the evaluation comes in 2 forms, the formative one and the summative one. So the summative is the one that comes at the tail end of it. So we are interested in knowing whether our instructional package was able to first maximize learning as we want. 2, was the use of it appropriate? The learners enjoy using it. And then the process involving the use of it. Okay, so the product and the process, we are interested in knowing all that. So we can evaluate it by, so most of the time we see for training programs, you see there are some kind of questionnaire or evaluation form that we give to the participant for them to come out with some kind of assessment or evaluation about the entire program, the presentations that were made, how they see them, the content, the instructional media that were used. So the learners give us feedback for which we analyze and see whether the product is okay or was okay, and the process was okay, and then the learning itself has taken place or has been maximized as we plan to get. So that is what is done, or that is what we do at the evaluation stage.
So, like you said, the evaluation phase, you have two forms. We have the formative, and we don't wait till the last minute before we do the evaluation. So, with the formative, it can occur at all the other phases.
Yes.
All right. So, for instance, if you are at the design phase, and then you analyze, you do some analysis, okay, and then let me just say this simple example. At the design phase, where you put ideas, okay. So if it's a training program, you have crafted some questions that you are going to ask. Now, you got information about your learners. Maybe at the analysis phase, the analysis was not well done. So you have gotten a new information. So there is a need for you to make modification to the questions that you crafted.
Yeah.
All right. So that is formative evaluation. Because you did not wait till the end.
Sure.
All right. So you decided to make modification before it goes to the
ensure
end,
quality.
To ensure
before
quality.
You get to the tail end.
Yes. In the classroom too, I think the teacher can ask questions. All right. So as you are presenting, you ask questions, you pause, you discuss, and
checking your driving mirrors and your side mirrors and all that.
So that we don't wait till the end of the lesson or the end of the term or semester before we find out from our students what went well or what didn't go, or what is going well and what is not going well. And I think I cited this example in class that as a teacher or even a trainer, during the lesson, or if it's a semester or a term, you can't, let's say, first 2-3 weeks, you can find out from your students. All right. Depending on the level, you can give them a questionnaire, okay, and then ask what is going well and what is not going well, so that they give you feedback for you to be able to improve upon whatever you are doing. Until the end of semester, where you are going to conduct exams or something. You don't want things to get to the last minute before you try to make changes. And you know, end of semester, we do not give student feedback. Okay. So
unless maybe somebody wants to come for remarking.
But even so, if you want to do changes, it will affect the next class or the next group. All right. So if you are teaching a class for a very first time, I think the next group will enjoy, the class better than the first group, because you gain or you get some feedback.
More or less, you use the first group as many pigs
in your experiment.
Yes.
All right. So listeners,
there's one other thing. If for instance, if you want to find out from the learners, let's come back home to our university. If you want to find out from your students that what is not going on well, would they be frank in telling you exactly?
It depends on how you go about it. Now, if you are telling your student to write their names, all right, then of course
they shouldn't expect anything.
But this day and age, you can even use Google Forms. You create your Google Forms, then you share the link. You tell your student that you want the feedback, you want their candid opinion. They shouldn't write their names or put down any identifiable information.
There was something called suggestion box. People can write and then come and put it into the suggestion box. I don't see those things around these days.
Because we have advanced, because we can always use online.
That's why it's easy for you. You can just take a piece of paper, write something, and then you drop it into the box.
So it depends. It depends
on how you go about it.
Okay.
Thank you.
It depends on how you go about it. Okay. Let's Listeners and viewers, we've having a revision session with EduTech student, Educational Technology 121. So if you have a question, you can call us on 0503-923158, WhatsApp and SMS 0503-923158, Facebook Radio Windy Bay 98.3 FM. If you just join us without the ADI model, and we're looking at the stages or the phases of the ADI process. Yeah. All right. Okay, so I think do we have to touch on? Let me see if I can remember what another student wanted us to talk about. But we have about 8 minutes.
To go.
So I was expecting that the student will call or send a test for us to be able to respond. So far, only one student has sent a test message.
Yeah.
To know the form that it will take.
The form and nature,
yeah,
and the shape.
Nature, yes. It will not be different from that of the midterm. So we have 30 questions, multiple choice. You have to answer all. You'll be given 25 minutes or 30 minutes. I think, I'm not sure, but either 25 or 30 minutes for you to answer the 30 questions.
Yeah.
But I want you to pay attention to the exam timetable. On the exam timetable, you might see, for example, this is just an example, 7 on the day, okay? Like if I know the EduTech, they will write the EduTech on the 4th of June. So on the exam timetable, you'll be divided into different groups. Like the midterm, we have 3 groups. Now, if you see 7 to 8 a.m., for example, it doesn't mean that the exams, EduTech exams, will last for 1 hour. Last semester, yeah, some people were beaten to 8. And so, and you know, there are some students who want to wait for others to finish. Not that they want to cheat, but they don't have their own handset or devices. Yeah. So they have to wait for others to finish for them to use. Yes. So I'm just cautioning you that the exams, when on the timetable is example 7 to 8, 1 hour. But the exams will start on top of the hour. If it is 7 to 8, it will start from 7 and end 7:45. Yeah. So the duration of the exams is 45 minutes. But the actual time is 30 minutes. All right. And you'll be given 2 attempts. So after the first attempt, you have another chance. All right. Within 45 minutes, you can attempt the questions again. And some student wanted to know whether we are going to find average or what are we going to do. We'll tell the system to select your best effort. So, for example, if the first attempt you score 10 out of 30, then the second attempt you score 25 out of 30, then we will tell the system to select the 25 out of 30 that we scored. Okay. Yeah, we are not going to find average.
Yeah. So, as soon as possible, in order not to be found wanting, charge your device's battery, and then, because there have been complaints, some saying I started it and then in the middle of it, my battery ran down and I couldn't get to the end. We don't want to hear those excuses this time. So if it's possible, you get a functional device and then you start with it. I wouldn't encourage people to wait and borrow their course mates' own, because you will be working, all of you will be working within a limited time. You don't have the whole day for this. So if you are having your own functional device, working device, and you start at the time, so that if something happens, you are not able to finish the first one, you can start again. Because just as you said, everything will go on within an hour. So within that hour, if you start, for example, from 7, yours will end at 7:30.
Yes.
Because you are using 30 minutes. But assuming you borrow your friend who used the first 30 minutes to do it, that means that you are going to start your own at 7:30. Meanwhile, you have 30 minutes to do it.
Yeah. Okay, we have a caller on the line. Yeah, your name and program. Your name and program. Hello.
Yeah.
Go ahead with your name and program.
Oh, we lost him.
Okay. This is also important. Much as we encourage every student to get their own devices, you know, it's not their fault. Some they cannot afford.
But is not there.
If you borrow or you use somebody's device, make sure you sign the person out. Okay, how do you call it? Log the person out. Yeah. Now we have had cases where a student will borrow another student's device and then not logging the person out. So the person will take either the midterm or the quiz or the end of semester on behalf of another student.
Yeah.
Then the student will come and tell you that
I did the exercise,
but he did it for somebody.
Yes.
Last semester, it so happened that somebody, a lady, a gentleman used a lady's device for the end of semester. Not only the end of semester, throughout the term. So the lady didn't know that when she gave the handset to the gentleman, after the gentleman has done his quiz, he forgot to log out. So throughout the term or semester, the lady was doing the quizzes and then the midterm and everything on behalf of the gentleman. And the gentleman also didn't actually come out to say that somebody has been doing
my exercise
for me. But he was boasting that I don't do anything, but I get my grace. Okay. So I think they sent a letter. It was a big case to me. I was copied. It was an issue, the big issue. So please, make sure you remember to log out. All right? Always log out, especially when you give your handset to someone. Log the person out before you try to use it. Otherwise, Azakis. All right.
So take it easy. Don't panic. Sometimes, the technology that we are using, the medium that we are using, sometimes we are even trying to get connected onto the net and it's not getting through. If you are not careful, that stress or that pressure can affect your performance. So if you are in a hostel or you are in the hall, I'm sure you would maybe go around to see where the network will be better before you even start, so that when it's time for you to do it, you just move to that location. Where your network will be okay for you. So don't and one other advice I'll give is that the students should not try to be lone rangers. Don't especially during exams time, don't hide yourself from other people. Just get in touch. Ask your friends questions. If you are not getting something well, ask your friends questions. Even if you are sure of the time that an exam or paper will be taken, just find out, ask more questions, ask your friends, your colleagues, your classmates, so that if there is any change, it's even possible that you may not get some information well. Then you have just gone into your bunker, you are there alone. By the time you realize they have finished writing the paper. So I encourage you to get in touch with your classmates your friends in times of examination.
All right.
Okay.
I think our time is up.
Yeah.
So we want to use this medium to thank our students
Yeah.
for being good students,
Yeah.
EdTech students, and we are wishing you all the best. And I think I do have anything to tell your
Oh,
students.
I just wish them good luck in all the papers that they will write, not in EduTech alone. I wish them well.
Okay.
Yes, so they will get there. I know most of them will become professors and doctors in the future.
Amen.
So it is one step at a time.
Okay.
This time, this is what you have to do. So channel all your resources to it, your effort, and then get it done. Then when you get to the next stage, you look at that one. It's just like climbing steps. Gradually, you get to the top. Okay. So eat well, take rest when you are tired. Don't overlearn. Don't put your feet in water in order to stay awake and learn for so many hours. It's not advisable. When you are tired, take rest, eat well, drink more water. Okay, in examination time, so that you go through successfully without any sicknesses and stress and fatigue and all that.
Okay. All right. So I think we are looking forward to grading your script. So all the best. Bye for now.
Yeah.